Hello everyone and welcome back to another AFK Journey video. In this video, I wanted to talk about the best AFK stage pushing teams. Because we're at the beginning of a new season, everyone is trying to push their AFK progress as quickly as they can. And now a lot of recommended formations have been appearing, and there are going to be two key players in these AFK stage pushing teams. One is Ulmus and one is Phraesto. Now, the first thing to understand about these heroes, Ulmus will not be a good option for AFK stages until he gets Mythic Plus. He needs Mythic Plus because then he is going to elongate the duration of the crowd control effects from Iron, for example. And then you lock down the enemy team almost permanently. So I got Ulmus to Mythic Plus today, and it has allowed me to push probably an extra 20 AFK stages than I normally would be able to. Like, I'm currently at stage 398. I would probably be around 380, maybe below that, if I didn't have the Ulmus. So Ulmus is the greatest help, and also because he's an A-level hero, if you have him on your wish list, over time you can get him to Mythic Plus and you will be able to do copy a lot of the recommended formations. Right now I'm kind of at a I'm kind of stuck, because if you take a look at the formations, a lot of them on this stage as well as the talent stage are going to be using Phraesto. And now here's the thing, I do have Phraesto and I got him to Mythic Plus, but Mythic Plus Phraesto is not going to really be able to do the same job as a Supreme Plus Phraesto. It can be similar, and like for what I've done is like I usually level up 10 levels higher, 20 levels higher on the Phraesto, and then I'm able to copy the formations that the Supreme Plus Phraesto did. But Supreme Plus is really important for these AFK stage pushing for Phraesto, because it will give him the shield at the beginning of the battle, a pretty high shield amount. And that is going to make a difference. That shield amount can allow him to survive, whereas a Mythic Plus Phraesto without the shield just will get popped at the beginning of the match. The other thing is that, of course, by ascending you get more stats, you're able to upgrade his exclusive weapon equipment to plus 15, and then you get like the optimal sort of Phraesto team. Before that, these formations are going to be difficult for you if you just have a Mythic Plus Phraesto. So this is an important like kind of public service announcement, because I thought maybe just getting Mythic Plus Phraesto would be enough to copy the formations. It isn't really exactly enough. You're still going to want to get him to Supreme Plus in order to like copy the formations effectively. Alus will work at just Mythic Plus or Supreme for a bit of bonus stats from Ascension. If you get him to Supreme Plus though, he's going to be even more effective, because his Supreme Plus effect is actually an important one. It will knock back adjacent enemies by 1 tile when the shield granted by Verdant Barrier, which he applies to himself or to his allies, is broken. So this is more crowd control than knockdown, and then he's going to elongate the effect of the knockdown, increasing the duration of the knockdown. So it's just more lockdown and crowd control. So the Supreme Plus ability of Ulmus is pretty important. However, just with Mythic Plus, he is going to help you push stages, which is the good thing. So that's kind of the difference between him and Phraesto. I feel like the Ulmus even at Mythic Plus is really strong, and Supreme Plus makes him a bit better. Phraesto at Mythic Plus is fine, but Supreme Plus makes him a lot stronger. And it's obviously, it takes a lot of copies to get a Celestial Hypogean to Supreme Plus. So it's something that you have to plan in advance. Okay, I want to take a look at some of the records, and we're just going to watch the matches to show you how these teams work. So this one specifically, people are running both Phraesto and Ulmus on the same team. Normally that isn't the case, but let's just watch it. So the Iron crowd control, Ulmus is going to prolong the duration of the crowd control effects, and OD is usually a good option, especially if there are enemies like Igor who otherwise would not go down. Arden will cast his ultimate, and Ulmus will prolong the duration of the entangling roots. And look at this, both of the Phraestos have survived, even up until this point. Like with my Mythic Plus Phraesto, I ran this team probably like, I ran it up until I ran out of attempts. I don't know how many that is, 20, 50 times, whatever it is. And my Phraesto illusion would never survive. It's impossible for him to survive at Mythic Plus, I think. But at Supreme Plus, he managed to survive here, and then it looks like a really easy clear, honestly, for this player. And also the thing is, my Phraesto is 15 levels higher than the one used in this formation. So that's kind of the thing. Without Supreme Plus, Phraesto is a bit lacking for these AFK stages. For Dream Realm, he's still good, because like most of the time for Dream Realm, he's tanky enough anyway, he's not dying. But for the AFK stages at a deficit, you need that extra shielding at the beginning of the match, and the stats from Supreme Plus Ascension. Okay, so this is an example of this team. We can quit out of it here. And now I want to show you an example of a standard Ulmus team, because right now in my talent stages there is an Ulmus, or in my regular AFK stages there is an Ulmus team, but it's like an Ulmus Scarlita team. But I did a standard Ulmus team. I shared the replay. This is usually the standard Ulmus crowd control comp: Arden, Iron, Rowan, Ulmus, and then one more hero. It can be like a more supportive hero like Haywin, or it can be Carolina for more damage and crowd control. But I want to show you how this team can work even at the Mythic plus Ulmus. You have the Iron to immobilize enemies. Ulmus is going to elongate or prolong the duration of the crowd control. And Rowan is just charging up his energy, trying to cast his ultimate to boost the energy. And Arden also trying to lock down the opponents with the Entangling Roots. Ulmus is going to prolong the duration of it. This is actually a really fun replay, and that's why I shared it, because things actually look, my whole team dies, but like I barely clear it with a sliver of health on Carolina, you're going to see. But look at this lockdown. Like when you don't have Ulmus here, you cannot lock down opponents and control them for this long. Ulmus is just so amazing for these crowd control teams. So right now, look at this. It looks like a convincing win, but then both are dead. There's still 2 opponents left. Carolina barely is going to do exactly enough damage right now, I think. One more hit. And there we go. And get the win. But that is a standard sort of Ulmus team. Sometimes people use Ulmus Scarlita teams, as in my current talent AFK stage, because there's I think it's an Igor, right? Yeah, an Igor is difficult to kill. Either you use Odie to kill him with execution, or a Scarlita to knock him off the battlefield. This is the Festo team, but this is the Wilder crowd control team. So then this also brings up the question, which faction talents do you want to upgrade? And I think definitely Wilder. You want to upgrade the Wilder faction talent, because the most used team in all of the AFK stages so far is the Ulmus team. There are certain stages where you have to use Phraesto as well, and that's where I get kind of stuck. So the second best faction talent to upgrade is going to be Maulers, because with the Phraesto standard team, it's usually a team full of Maulers. We're going to watch one of those as well, so I'll talk about it when we get to that. So right now, just locking down the opponent. Yeah, the Supreme plus Phraesto here is going to do better. And you're going to see that in a lot of the recommended formations, it is a Supreme plus... Oh, not Phraesto, Supreme plus Ulmus. But Supreme Ulmus can work, like I've done it, and there are some recommended formations using it. But the Supreme plus Ulmus is going to be a little bit better. Okay, and look at this crowd control. Just so much lockdown of the opponent. Arden, Carolina, both controlling, and Iron all controlling the enemies. Ulmus extending the duration of the crowd control. So yeah, all of this basically makes my opinion that on your wish list for A-level Wilders, I think you should have both Arden and Ulmus. I thought Damien would always be the best option for A-level Wilder, and he's amazing for PvP. But when you're talking about AFK stages, nothing is as good as Ulmus and Arden. So it's also kind of, which do you care about more? Because the thing with AFK stages, yes, it's really cool to push at like a high level deficit, but in a couple of days, like for example, I'm at stage 398 right now. Even if I didn't have Ulmus Phraesto built up, I would still make it to this point. It would just be like one day later. So that's the thing, like how much do you value pushing AFK stages? But because, I don't know, I feel like Ulmus should be somewhat of a priority, maybe before Damien, and then after you're done with your Ulmus, then you can build up Damien for PvP, because Damien is purely pretty much for PvP. It doesn't have much use in AFK stages. Okay, so that was the Ulmus team. Now I'm going to show you an example of a Mauler Phraesto team. Now this is going to be pretty much the standard Phraesto team a lot of people use to clear the higher floors. Phraesto, Smokey, Odie. Smokey and Odie are the damage. Odie through the targeting, 1-by-1 execution, and Smokey from the blue aura to kill. Definitely Odie is important into enemies with like Igor, because then you can put the execution mark onto him. And the whole idea behind this team, Phraesto needs to tank for long enough so that your Rowan can give the energy to Coco, and your Coco can give your whole team damage reduction, and then you're kind of stabilized. Then you have the healing from Smokey, damage reduction will continuously be going off, shielding from Coco when she's at Mythic Plus. So that's basically the team plan. Now the problem is, I can't do this because my Phraesto is Mythic Plus. So look at this. Look at the burst damage of the opponent, bursting even through the shield of the Supreme plus Phraesto, but he's able to survive and survive just fine. Now, in my team, this doesn't work because my Phraesto dies too quickly, even at Mythic Plus, because he doesn't have that shielding at the beginning of the match. So for AFK stages where the opponents burst you so hard in the beginning of the match, that is when the Supreme plus Phraesto is really important. And now the team is stabilized, you have the continuous healing, damage reduction, now you just wait until your Smokey kills everything, pretty much. But even then, look at that, the health is getting really low, but barely enough to survive. Okay, and even right now, I think the Phraesto, no, for both him and his illusion, oh, I think his illusion died, but he respawned his illusion. I think, for some reason, I felt like I saw that. But anyway, this is going to be your go-to Phraesto Mauler team. Now, so there's one Mauler team with Phraesto, and there's the Wilder team with Ulmus. And that's why I think for your faction talent, it will be best to upgrade Wilder and Mauler faction talent. And so that's what I'm doing. Like, I'm not upgrading the other trees. I'm just trying to upgrade as much as possible Wilder and Maulers, and I'm preferring Wilder first because a lot of teams are going to be the Ulmus crowd control team. Like, out of all the AFK stages I've seen, probably like 70% or 80% are the Ulmus Iron crowd control team, but there are some stages which can best be cleared with the Phraesto Mauler team, so you should also work on that. And the main reason I'm upgrading it is for the stat boost for the whole team when you have your faction talent deployed of 3 heroes, and then we're going to want to upgrade the skills as well. And in order to unlock the stage 2 of the faction talents, you're going to have total 40 activated talents, and that's why I had to upgrade the trees of the other ones, but I didn't upgrade this one because this is the most expensive. I wanted to save as many talent orbs as possible for these trees. So that's basically my advice for the AFK stages and your priority for the wish list maybe. But also this is kind of like a public service announcement that if you're thinking that Mythic plus Phraesto will be enough, it isn't quite enough. It's almost enough, and like maybe if you have 10 or 20 levels higher than the recommended formation, then you're going to be able to clear it with that. But the Supreme plus Shield is really important for these AFK stage deficit pushing. Like for other areas of the game, Mythic plus Phraesto is perfectly usable, but especially for when they have a lot of bursts at the beginning of the match, you need to have that Supreme plus Phraesto for the shielding. But anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully it gave you some idea about which heroes to build and what type of formations and like faction talents you should be upgrading in order to do better in the AFK stages. And I've tried so hard. I always like to end it on a 1 number for AFK stages because that is when, or 1 or 6 final number, because that's when you get a boost to the season essence per day. But I just could not break through either of these stages because they're both relying on Phraesto, which is the problem. And the second one, like Ulmus is one option here, but my levels are pretty close to it. I don't have the Supreme plus Ulmus, and so I'm not actually able to do this quite yet. Maybe with more attempts, but I've done attempts until I can't do any more. So anyway guys, hopefully this is helpful. I'll hopefully see you in the next video. I'm planning to do a Supreme Arena video today because today was really the first day where we're kind of fighting to maintain our top 5 rank, because a lot of the strong players have made it into the top 5 or top 20 of Supreme Arena. So I want to talk about that because I've also changed up my defenses a bit and done testing, and I think these are going to be the best defenses. So look forward to that. But I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll hopefully see you in the next one, and until then, everyone, peace out for now, and thank you for watching.